Hi, everyone. My name is Belle, and my industry is very niche. I work with women who are trying to get pregnant, and I teach pre-birth communication. So I'm teaching women how to communicate with their spirit baby, and I love it. It's so exciting, but it's super, super niche. So I wasn't actually sure how I was going to go on YouTube, but I've been pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, with that. So what ultimately made you decide to go with YouTube? I mean, were you on other platforms like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or like what kind of made you steer in the direction I'm going to go in with YouTube?
A two-part thing, actually. I'd been on Instagram for about 12 years, and my following hadn't grown in at least 3 to 5 years. And I was working my butt off, making reels on Instagram, and I would get like 2 or 3 likes and not much, movement. And whilst I had quite a booked up one-to-one calendar, I was really wanting to move away from one-to-one. And I already had created these programs that I put a lot of time and effort into, but no one was buying them. So my soul called me to YouTube actually for about a year, but I didn't have the bandwidth to kind of learn anything new. So I just kept doing what I was doing. And then it got to the point where I wasn't making any sales and I was really unhappy with, the effort I was putting in versus the reward. So I thought, okay, it's time to learn YouTube. And that's how I found you. I found your videos and I learned from you and I thought, well, what she's doing works because I binge watched all of your videos and then I bought your programs. So
So you had somewhat of an audience and email list before you started going kind of all in with YouTube, right?
yes, I had quite a decent following in terms of like I had an email list of about 3,000 people and I had quite a core group of around 2,000 followers on Instagram who were quite interactive. So I wasn't a complete newbie that hadn't had any traction whatsoever. I had just completely exhausted my warm list.
So a lot of business owners will feel overwhelmed or that they need like this perfect strategy first, or they'll just keep pushing YouTube down on their to-do list. What was that moment where you decided, I'm doing it, I'm going all in?
Actually, it was honestly this lady that I saw start a YouTube channel, and she was an Australian lady, and she was just an ordinary, everyday lady that was in her late 40s, and her channel just went like boom, and she was like, YouTube changed my life. I've got so much more free time, and whatever. And I thought, okay, maybe there's something to this YouTube, and I made a few videos that didn't go anywhere, and that's when I thought, okay, instead of being like, oh, well, it's not going to work for me, I started researching, well, what's she doing, this particular lady, that I'm not? And I learned about thumbnails and titles and all of the different things. So I thought, right, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to give YouTube a really good red hot crack. And in the meantime, I'm going to turn off TikTok and Instagram and all the other things because I haven't got the bandwidth to learn both. So it was really watching someone else's success that made me thought, right, it's time.
I know a lot of people really get stressed over starting from scratch, are nervous, put their time into something they're not sure of. I know you shared a little bit about that lady in that story, but is there anything else that made you realize this is where I got to be? I've got to, like, what ultimately said, I've got to put Instagram on hold. I've got to put TikTok on hold. And no matter the mindset that I'm having or the mindset blocks I'm having about YouTube, I think this is really the next step for me.
I think it was I had been grinding on Instagram for 10 years and I wasn't growing. And it was like, I can't keep doing what I've been doing because it's not working. I'm basically making reels, just hoping that one reel is going to magically take off, and it just doesn't. And it's like, I have to change, I have to pivot and shift my focus. I've been doing this for 10 years. I already know it doesn't work for me personally. So it was really just being so fed up with where I currently was that I was willing to put in the effort to make a change.
So now being on YouTube, you've had some videos go up and you've completed a playlist funnel. What are the results you're seeing, or where are you at now that you've committed to YouTube?
Oh, well, now that I've committed to YouTube, I've actually completely shut down Instagram and TikTok. Not deactivated, I've completely deleted my accounts because when I saw the revenue that I was generating from YouTube for a fraction of the time and a fraction of the energy, I really, for me personally, Instagram and TikTok were taking so much more than they were giving. And I wanted to be able to leave them as just a digital business card and just sort of leave it there and not close it down. But I spent 4 months off those apps and I felt so much better and I saw so much happening and so much movement in my business that when I went back on Instagram and TikTok, I was just sucked straight in back into that comparison game. So for me personally, I thought they've just got to go. And through going, actually, my business is catapulted even more because it's like, all right, I got to sink or swim. I've got to make this work. And I've come to realize that TikTok and Instagram are actually a very poor use of my time for generating cold leads. Maybe to connect with your already audience, it's a good platform. But for me, generating leads, yeah, it was a waste of my time.
Yeah, so how often now are you spending either creating content on YouTube, posting on YouTube, and kind of what is the revenue numbers you're getting now from YouTube since you said Instagram just wasn't working for you? What's this now look like your schedule being on YouTube?
Well, interestingly enough, I haven't posted a video on YouTube in 3 weeks because I've had some family issues going on. And, I've still generated around $16,000 in those 3 weeks, and I haven't even posted a video. So, I mean, it's literally life changing. I've probably, since I connected with you and did the course, maybe it's been around 4 or 5 months, and I've generated, actually, I wrote it down. $152,000 in 5 months. And I've made maybe 16 videos in that time. So, I mean, that to me, going from spending 4 hours making a reel day after day after day to making 16 videos that are generating. And interestingly enough, like my last video, it only had 19 views, but it generated like $15,000 in revenue. And I had to laugh because it's like my least viewed video. And that was just like, it really isn't about vanity metrics. It's really about making content that is like for the person you're trying to reach. And I feel like I was blessed because I already knew who I wanted to reach and I already knew how to reach those people, at least I felt. And I just needed a system to help me put it together to reach those people.
How did the coaching experience really kind of speed that process up? Because those are amazing results. And some people will be on YouTube forever and not see those results. So, what specifically in the program really helped you get those results quick?
Well, I had no idea what I was doing. I would just put out a video and hit and hope. I had no structure. I had no idea that one video could feed off the next and, to create titles and thumbnails. So I didn't have any idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to research the industry. I didn't know how to look at my niche. So you made everything so seamless and effortless, to be able to bring it all together so that someone like me that had no idea what I was doing could follow a very systemized structure to see results very quickly. And I'm very grateful. And your program is very, very affordable compared to other people that are offering similar kinds of programs. Some of the people I did, discovery calls with, their programs were 4 times the price. And I actually can't imagine that I would have got a better return from doing those programs. So I think what you offer is extraordinary for anyone who doesn't know how to do this, but believes that they can.
Yeah, that's amazing. What would you actually say was the best part of the program? Is there a piece that's the best part? I know we do the audits and we do the touch points and we do the curriculum, but is there anything that really stood out for you that you feel really set it apart that kind of got you what you needed?
I think being able to bounce back with you in the one to one, like being able to say, oh, hey, I've got this idea, and to bounce back, and, that any time zone didn't matter where I was, I could just submit it into Slack and you would get back to me when it was right. And you'd make a Loom video and you'd share with me, your ideas and visions. So having that person to bounce off, that it's like you're way ahead of me on this journey and you've got a walkie talkie, and you're saying, hey, Bella, do this or do that. You're like way ahead of the journey. So it's being able to piggyback on someone that's already achieved this and having good success to shine the light back for me, so to speak, so that I can follow because I'm fumbling in the darkness, right? so that someone that's already walked this path to hold your hand and help you a little bit. That was the most helpful, I think.
What would you say to somebody who's on the fence, either about YouTube or doing this program? What would you tell them if they're like, well, there's this Instagram thing that I'm still trying. I'm sure if I need to do YouTube. What would you tell them?
I would tell them that YouTube is absolutely an extraordinary platform to free up your time, to free up your energy, and to spend your time doing what you'd prefer to be doing. And in my case, that's out surfing and being at the beach and being with my son. So, would you rather spend day after day making content and reels that don't go anywhere? Or would you rather spend small chunks of really dedicated time and then start seeing results? You get to ask yourself the question what you would rather do. I have less than 200 subscribers, right?
Yes.
So, that, and when people say to me, oh, what's your YouTube channel? I almost don't even want to tell them because it's like, I don't want them to go and think that I'm some big YouTuber because I'm very, very far from that. But my content is reaching the people that it needs to. And that was the biggest jump for me, was actually getting beyond vanity metrics. Like even the Australian lady that I followed and her channel went boom, she wasn't making that much money from, courses and stuff. She was just relying on ad revenue, which is not what I wanted to do. I already had courses that I wanted to sell. I think, what did I write down? In my tiny offers, I generated 30,000 in just my tiny offers from these videos. So I already had stuff to sell. I just didn't know how to reach people to sell them. Oh my goodness. I mean, I never, ever, ever had these kind of numbers on Instagram. And whilst Instagram helped me build these core people and it did help me sell out my first group program, once everyone who loved me and loved my content had already completed my program, I couldn't reach anyone else. So YouTube really helped me reach an entirely new audience. Um, yeah, an entirely new audience, which has been amazing. And I imagine it's just going to keep on slowly growing from there. And when I felt a little bit complacent at one time, one video in the beginning didn't do that well. I watched a video on Mr. Beast, right? And Mr. Beast, as you know, has got 419 million subscribers. It took Mr. Beast 3 years to reach 1,000 subscribers. So, it's compounded slowly over time. We just keep staying committed. And eventually, even if you're not seeing results now, eventually you will.